So ultimately, if you're gonna lead, you ought to have a vision, a purpose, a dream. And of course, if you're on a team, the more it connects with the overall dream, the more your leadership's gonna be effective. And then it's about influence. It's not about just your own performance. In fact, if it's just about you, it's not leadership. Because if you're not helping somebody else get better, you're not really leading, because that's not influence. Everybody tracking on this one? So for me, my definition of leadership is intentional influence. The biggest challenge is me. And so here's what I mean by that. The number one challenge in a growing business is to not let the business outgrow you. And so whatever role you have, this is true for every single one of us. Whatever role we have as the business is growing, you have to make sure that the business doesn't outgrow you, your role, your leadership, which means you've constantly got to be working on yourself. Now, as I say that, don't get confused that it's it's all about me. It's actually, you have to think about yourself in terms of your growth so you can serve better. Because otherwise the business is just going to outgrow you. And so read everything you can about leadership, spend time with other leaders, get feedback from your peers of how I can get better. This is why the investment of what you're doing here at the support center is so important, because it can help you grow as a leader. But the biggest challenge is actually not letting the business outgrow you. And I would tell you, this is just as true again for me and you together, but we're part of an incredibly high growth business. And I mean, you guys, you know you're in a busy restaurant, right? But I want you to think about this. You're not only one of the busiest Chick-fil-A's in the state, and you're a really busy store compared to Chick-fil-A's across the country. But I'd argue to say in your trade area, nobody even remotely comes close to how busy you are. The idea of catch people doing things right, where you want to find people, and as they're doing stuff right, affirm them for it. And if somebody's not doing something right, you get no benefit out of pointing out to them all the things they've done wrong. Coach them to what's the right way to do it. So shine a light. So here's the example. Coach Wooden, when he was coaching basketball, he would tell his guys, hey, this is the way that you approach the basket. You want to put the ball off the backboard, and you want to cut straight to the basket, because that's the highest percentage chance the ball's going to go in. It's if it goes off the backboard and you're running at a direct angle. And when they'd be doing practice and the guys would come all around and they wouldn't use the backboard, Coach Wooden wouldn't stop practice and say, okay, you messed up because you went around this way. He would always come back to, now remember, when we're going down the court and we cut to the basket, we want to put the ball off the backboard right at this angle. He would point out the right way to do it instead of putting energy against the wrong way to do things. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a great coach, put people's energy and your own towards, okay, what's the right way to do it? It's sort of like the Department of Treasury when they have Secret Service agents that are working on counterfeiting. They don't actually study counterfeit bills. You know what they study? Real bills, so that it can be clear this is what an actual bill looks like. And so it's the same principle. Shine a light on the right way versus put energy on what's the wrong way to do something.
So each one of these quadrants I think is important and can be useful, and but I think you should bias towards one of these. So what are past positive thoughts? I call this the nostalgia quadrant. Like today we celebrated people that retired after 20, 30, 40 years. Got great memories with them, grand openings we did together and trips we took together and people we hired and people we met. So it's okay to spend time in the past and positive, like think nostalgia. But don't like wish for it so much that you get stuck back there. Like the good old days, let's go back to that. Some folks here want to go back to the way we used to do it. Well, we can't, because we're 10 times as big. We can't do it anymore. Don't be stuck in the past. Back here is the regret piece, Tony. Like things in your past that are negative are things you wish you hadn't done, like mistakes. And this is where Satan wants to keep you. He wants to like beat you down and say you're a failure. You did permanent damage to people. You're like such a loser. And he wants you to feel horrible about yourself here. Over here in future positive is worry. Like what might go wrong? Like what if I can't find a job one day? What if I get a degree and I can't find it? What if I lose my job? What if my kids get sick? What if? And then here, this quadrant, I call this kind of the dream or the vision piece. And this is where I try to spend my time. I think all 4 of these are good. You want to be thankful for the memories. You want to learn lessons about things to avoid in the future. Like what are your weaknesses? What are your challenges? What should you be careful about? You want to manage risks. Like if my house might burn down, well, buy fire insurance and put a smoke alarm in, and you're done. Quit worrying about it. Like you've dealt with it. And don't. This worry is using your imagination for negative consequences. And so Satan wants you to like be stuck down here. Like a lot of moms worry about being a good mom. You know, can I take care of my kids? My kids be healthy. Am I going to have my kids be ready for the future? They just get stuck down here. You know, and there's so much pressure, so much Facebook comparison. Am I the perfect mom or not? But just try to bias towards this. Like spend time on all 4 of them, but bias towards that. So, that makes sense?
Yeah.
I think for Granddad modeled humility, and so it's not about positional power, it's about personal influence. And for our group, I think we constantly have to remind ourselves, it's just daily focusing on what Uncle Dan says, who we are and whose we are. And if you think about walking out of the room with who I am and whose I am, helps.
Yeah.
You know, whose I am, I'm God's. I'm a beautiful, wonderful child of God. I tell that to my kids. You're a beautiful, wonderful child of God. So just reflecting on that, and that I'm first of all hit among anything, and then I kind of reflect on who I am, and knowing and reflecting on that before I kind of go out a day and reflect on that is helpful for me.